Munster are looking very strong as we enter the playoffs. After a very shaky start to the season, they've come back strongly, they are looking as good as ever, and they have rightfully taken that number 1 spot on the log. And with that, they will be facing the weakest opposition, the Ospreys, in the quarterfinals. Now, because Munster had such a shaky start to the season, when we look at their team stats, it might not be quite as indicative of where they are now. So I will provide you with Munster's team stats, but just bear in mind it might not be 100% accurate. I'll point out the things that I think are not accurate, given that I've analyzed them quite a few times during the past 2 months or so. I want to look at 2 big areas for Munster that I think they are really, really solid in. That being their attack and their discipline, specifically their discipline in the set piece. Just like Leinster, their defenders beaten stat is quite low with 316, but their clean break stat is also quite low with 114. So this might suggest that they like to grind down their opponent's defenses over multiple phases instead of really focusing on the strike moves. Now, they will obviously focus on strike moves as well, as that's a big part for any team, but I'm saying that they also have that extra layer where even if they don't get a strike move, they can still wear down and break down defenses from anywhere on the field. And I think we see that particularly in their last game against Ulster, where it felt to me like Munster really tried to attack from deep within their own half. So I think the Ospreys are going to have to be very careful by not letting their guard down on defense, even if they have territorial dominance. Munster's meters gained stat is 6th in the league with 6,935, and their offloads are also 6th with 160. And here I think the stats don't really tell the whole picture, because it might seem like Munster are fairly average in their attack, but I think these are a little bit skewed because of that first half of the season where they didn't start off strongly. Their discipline in open play is fairly average, as they are 8th when it comes to overall penalties conceded. However, their set piece discipline is extremely good. A really insane stat is that they have only caused 2 line-out offences during the entire season, which is 1st in the league. And at the scrum, they've only caused 29 offences, which is 2nd. So while their discipline at the line-out is remarkable, their success rate is much less so. They only have an 84% success rate, which is 13th in the league. This will undoubtedly be an area where they will really have to focus on getting their jumpers. Munster are also not really a team that focuses on the kicking game. They've only made 195 kicks from hand, which is the 4th least. And I think this is fairly obvious when you watch them. Munster knows that they have some really good attacking threats across the park, and that they don't really need to kick and play for territory as much to get an upper hand in the match. When it comes to the Ospreys, they actually have a really solid defense. They've got an 88% tackle success rate, which is 5th, and they have the least amount of turnovers of any team, 194. Although that least amount of turnovers could be indicative of less possession throughout the season, it's still pretty good, and it indicates that they can get some good continuity during attack. However, their attack is quite average, with only 56 tries scored, and they are 13th in the league in terms of offloads, 130. They are also 14th in meters gained, 5,564. So while they don't really turn over the ball as much, when they do have possession, it's not like they're this absolutely deadly team. And that's because they focus on the kicking game. They have the 3rd most kicks from hand with 473 and the 4th most kick meters with 13,450. The main factor for the Ospreys is probably going to be their defense. Can their defense be good enough to hold Munster out for the majority of the game? And can they put themselves into positions where they can initiate maybe a kicking or a tactical battle? Because if they can do that, they might be able to make it really frustrating for Munster, and it might prompt Munster to take a bit more risks and give a lot of turnovers. And one aspect that is going to aid them is that their discipline in open play is actually quite solid. They only have the 5th most penalties conceded with 164. And this might not be directly applicable to open play, but they are 7th in terms of scrum offences with 39. The biggest question is just, can their defensive structures hold their own against Munster? I'm not so sure. In the lineout itself, the Ospreys only have 8 lineout steals for the entire season. So this would suggest that they choose not to compete in the lineout and that they choose to keep defenders on their feet. Another interesting aspect to their set piece strategy is that they have a high risk and reward strategy at the scrum. They have the 2nd worst scrum success rate with 86%, but they also have the 2nd most scrum penalties won with 34. If Munster are not careful and at the top of their game at scrum time, then the Ospreys might be able to catch them off guard, given that they try so hard to get penalties at the scrum. Overall, this match is truly David versus Goliath. The Ospreys, I'll be honest, I don't think they have a very high chance of winning, but let's not forget that before the quarterfinals, the Ospreys only had a 2% chance of getting into the playoffs, according to the bookies. So I won't say that it is impossible, but if they do manage to get a win, it'll probably be the upset of the season. Thank you for watching. I hope you guys enjoy the game and the rest of your day, and I'll see you guys next time. Cheers.